May we then turn to item 7 on the agenda, which is the recruitment update in the context of a critical success factor number 1, the safe transfer of functions. Joanne Wass.
Thank you, Chairman. The board's by now, I'm sure, very familiar with this subject matter, so I'm not going to over-labour either the introduction to this paper or the going through the paper in detail itself, except to just remind us, as I always do, that there are 2 key milestones associated with the recruitment strategy: to complete the processes that involve consideration of staff at risk in the existing NHS system by the end of December, and to fill the majority of the posts in our structure in time for our go-live date of the 1st of April, so that we're a safe, effective organisation at that point. Given the timing of this meeting, I'm going to concentrate on talking about the first one of those 2. At the next meeting, I'll talk about what we call the March target, our kind of fill rate against the posts in our structure. But for today, I'm going to concentrate on the December target. You'll have gathered from the paper, no doubt, that we've made some really good progress since the last meeting. I'm pleased to report. In fact, you'll have noticed also from Bill's paper on the assurance framework that as a result we've downgraded the risk associated with the recruitment strategy. To give you a feel for the kind of amount of progress that's been made in the last few weeks, when we last met, we talked about matching, this process by which we share with sending organisations, existing NHS organisations, our structure, and ask them if they have staff that they feel match posts in that structure. When we met last time, the number of posts that had been through matching was 31%. When this paper was written, it was 93%. It's now 98%. So you can kind of see the pace at which things are moving on. And I think we said last time that matching is sender-led. We don't actually have that much involvement in it other than explaining our structures and our job descriptions to sending organisations. They, with trade unions, then consider those job descriptions against the jobs that their staff are doing at the moment. I think we said last time thank you to sending organisations, but I think we should say it again. And to trade union colleagues, they've been incredible. The pace at which they've worked has been phenomenal, and I think the amount of hours and commitment they've put into that, alongside doing day jobs in the existing system, is to be commended, I think. Nevertheless, when you look at in the paper, you'll see the results of the matching process. One of the things that you'll realise from reading that is there have been relatively few one-to-one matches where one individual person matched to an individual post in our structure. The rest of the post, there's either been a multiple match, so more than one person has matched, or there's been no match at all, which means you need some form of competitive process to follow on from that to decide who gets the job. And that's been the thing that's been consuming our people over the last few weeks. There have been an enormous amount of interviews going on. There are this week, there are next week. But when you look at the activity to date and what is planned between now and the end of December, our best assessment of looking at that is that we'll be 98% compliant with the December target by the end of December. Clearly, timetables are tight. There's not much slippage in that, if any at all. So no doubt, I'm sure there will be the odd case here and there where someone on an interview panel is sick or a candidate can't make it and it gets pushed into January. But nevertheless, we're relatively confident we'll be around about the 98% mark. And Annex A shows you that broken down. As I say, the next meeting I'll report the fill rate. I don't have robust data for Agenda for Change posts yet on fill rate because there's a massive amount of stuff going on very quickly. So there's a bit of a delay in getting the information through. But the VSM posts, which we've almost now completed, it says in the paper the fill rate for that is 90%. It's actually 92 now. It's gone up since we wrote the paper. The other area that we've talked about several times is around that family health service staff providing family health service functions. If you remember, we agreed to lift and shift these staff into the board, and we've been doing a process of trying to identify the staff in the existing system that provide those services. That process is now complete. We've written to sending organisations confirming the names of the staff that will transfer to us on the 1st of April. There are 1,803 of them, and senders will now write to their staff and confirm that, because they're responsible for the consultation with those staff around the transfer. We've talked before at previous meetings about whether we're likely to need to activate any contingency plans in relation to the December target. Given the fact that we're estimating a 98% compliance, my advice to the board today is that we don't, except in one area, which is laid out in the paper, and it's that of the National Improvement Body. People may be aware that the person leading on the setup of the National Improvement Body is a person called Julian Hartley, who's the Chief Executive of South Manchester Foundation Trust. He's been brought in recently to look at this, and it's Julian's assessment that we need a little bit longer to get this right. So the proposal is that we lift and shift about 200 staff who are involved in the delivery partner infrastructure for the improvement body into the board and sort that out in 13-14. So I am looking today for the board's approval to that proposal, please. Other than that, the main area that prevents us from being 100% compliant is posts that were in the previous Transformation Directorate, which, as you know, the functions have been split up and put into other directorates, which has necessitated a redesign of the structure. This meant that we lost a few weeks in the recruitment timetable, and we've got recruitment being pushed into the new year now. So just before I move on to diversity, I just wanted to re-emphasise something that Bill said about how hard people have worked to get here. And I think the board can take some heart from the fact that we've recruited some fantastic people. You know, you point them at something that's very important and they deliver it. And I think, you know, we should be very pleased with that. And I echo what Bill said when he said thank you to people. So to turn to diversity finally, the first thing to say about this is we're beginning to get better at modelling the data, but it's still far from perfect. It has limitations that are associated with the pace that we're working at, the volume of stuff that we're doing, and the fact that the activity is happening all over the system. So, for example, I just mentioned that matching is sender-led. So getting information from senders around the diversity profiles of the staff they've matched is currently a bit of a challenge to us. I'm sure it'll come through in due course, but we haven't wanted to distract them at the moment from doing the actual matching activity. So the data that you have in front of you only relates to appointments that we've made through the formal appointments process. And because of the pace we're working, at the moment it only relates to 345 posts. But nevertheless, it's the most robust data we've seen so far. What you can see from this, I think, in some areas is a gradually improving position. So I'm pleased about two things. One is that when you look at the categories of people who classify themselves as non-white, our workforce has got an 11.6% representation. The percentage of the working age population of England who classify themselves as non-white is 9%. So that's good. However, we know that staff affected by the transition, there are 12.1% of people who classify themselves in that way. So it's still not good enough, but it's kind of going in the right direction. The thing I'm most pleased with is gender, which is starting to even out a bit, but again, still some way to go. And I'm sure I'll be saying for quite a while yet, there's quite a lot still to do on this. Finally, I just want to report that we said last time we'd set up a task and finish group to look at the medium-term challenges around diversity. We're putting some dates in the diary in 2013, the first one's in January, but just to confirm from a board point of view, the membership is Ed, Victor, Tim, Bill and I.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Any comments from colleagues?
Fabulous, very good.
Yeah.
Kieran?
It's just to recognise both sides of the equation. I think incredible progress, everybody working hard. People seem to have been doing nothing but interviews, and if they weren't doing interviews, they're doing CCG authorisations. I think that's incredible. But particularly for people stuck in the sending organisations, which I know technically isn't our issue, it has been hard for a number of people. There have been some mistakes. So it's just saying, you know, let's recognise that and say, look, you know, everybody is trying to do their best, but let's recognise the pain that some people have suffered.
I think that's absolutely right. I've worked in HR roles in the NHS for 24 years. I've never seen anything as complicated as this change. And I think whilst I never really worried that we'd do it. I was worried about the quality of the process going through. And I think the volume and the speed has meant that I'm sure there are some people out there who have had a less than perfect experience. I hope the majority of people have had a good experience. But I know, and I expect you know, some cases where that's not been the case. And I hope those people will forgive us, because I think it's not intentional by any means. It's a product of the pace that we're working at, I think, on this.
What's the experience of making offers to people and them declining to take them? Have we had a very high acceptance rate?
I think it's different for the matching process than it is for the people that have applied for jobs and been offered them. So I'm not aware, in fact, of anybody who's been offered a job who applied for it and turned it down. But there is a process through the matching stuff where you can appeal against the match, and that I'm aware of. There have been some cases of that, but I haven't got any figures with me today, because obviously senders would keep that information. But I can have a look at it, and I can get that information from senders if you're
It's
interested.
very encouraging if people have then gone through the process and wanted to follow through.
Well, thank you, Jerry. This has been a risk of the highest order to us, and I think the board unanimously feels today that we're reassured. We owe you and your colleagues a deep vote of thanks for having handled it so skillfully, and have brought us to the position where you can give us the assurances today, both for the December and also for the April targets. So can I ask the board if they're willing also to endorse the proposal in paragraph 17 regarding the improvement body plan, and otherwise to receive the report? Good. Thank you very much.